So glad to be here with you all today, and thanks for everybody coming out. Appreciate it. I always like to start out my transformational messages with a little bit of something funny or a joke. And so these are examples from a Catholic school that's testing kids on questions about their knowledge about the Old Testament and the New Testament. So here's some of their perceptions. When Mary heard she was the mother of Jesus, she sang the Magna Carta. Solomon, one of David's sons, had 300 wives and 700 porcupines. Jesus was born because Mary had an immaculate contraption. Now, there might be something to that, I don't know. And the last one is, the epistles were the wives of the apostles. So we need more kids here, don't we? Because kids are great. And I'm glad we have a few. It's terrific. So this morning, we're in this month of February where the power, of course, is strength, but we celebrate also love this whole month. The topic that came to me was one radiant heart, because we are one, right? We're one heart, one body, one beautiful earth. And what a week it's been, right? I think everybody's felt the energy this week. It's been the new moon, a solar eclipse, the start of Ramadan, the beginning of Lent, and the Chinese New Year, which is the year of the fiery horse. How many people know they're a horse? Okay, yeah. So if you were born, if you're 84 this year, or 72 this year, or 60, or 48, or 36, or 24, or 12, you're a horse. And you can always look up, of course, on the internet to find out which animal you are. So with so much on the stage in the world, it can be easy for us sometimes for our hearts to sink, to tighten, to really descend a few floors. Does anybody feel that way? Yeah, I mean, you just let a little in, or you open up your phone in the morning and there it goes. So we know we're living through profound change. We know that all these systems are unraveling, structures are being reworked, and what feels stable one day shifts the next. It's very unsettling. But what if we knew that everything that is coming up, everything is coming up for healing? And how many people know that? Yeah, that everything, it's got to come up and be cleared before we can really start anew. And apparently the planetary configuration, and I'm not an astrologer, but it hasn't happened for 6,000 years. Is that incredible or what? Like 6,000 years, yeah. So, and this unraveling is hard on our hearts. And when we think about our hearts, we could think about our physical heart, but our heart really is a magnetic field. It's the seat of our wisdom. And it's love in our hearts, that's the magnetic field that makes for a radiant heart. So, and love is a feeling, we know it when we step into our homes, we know it we step into our good friends' homes, we step into the sanctuary, or maybe our workplace, maybe not, maybe yes. But it's a field, it's a higher frequency. And that frequency feels good. The frequency of love is much stronger when we spend more time being rather than doing. Does anybody have a hard time with more time spending being rather than doing? Yeah, right? Because we were trained, especially in our society, to be productive and be busy. So, and what the beings of light, the people who are seers and go beyond and who are connecting with them, they say that these new energies in the earth, that they'll change us if we allow ourselves to be changed by them. And that means we have to actually kind of tune in and be being more than doing more. So I know a lot of people are working, and I know everybody's busy and doing a lot more with your time than even you used to do. But putting yourself in your calendar for 10 or 15 minutes sometime during the day and just taking a few breaths, going outside if you can, you know, and looking at nature and nurturing yourself can do wonders. And when you come back to work, when you come back to the screen or whatever you're working on, you know, your whole being has shifted and reframed, and your output is higher because you have more open and receptive to connecting with the divine while you're out there. So what they're also telling us is that the energy that we carry, because we've all had more awakening over the last few months, everybody on the planet, it might not look like it sometime, but everybody on the planet, that the energy we carry is more powerful than doing the tasks that we think are so very important. I would imagine most of us here in Unity have a broad heart, a heart that embraces differences and diversity. And I really like the word embrace rather than accept. I think when we use the word accept, there's still a little bit of a subtle wall there. But when we say embrace, it means I can hold you dearly, even if we disagree. I can really embrace you. And I think that is one of our goals in Unity, is to embrace all the diversity and the differences. So in times like this, I feel like one of the things we're called to do is to love louder. How can we love louder? Because it's challenging out there, isn't it? Anybody feel like it's challenging out there to love louder? Right. And, you know, we use the Bible as one of our spiritual books in Unity because we know we're every person, every event in the Bible. And so this scripture is from Colossians chapter 3, verse 14. And it says, "Above all, clothe yourself in love, which binds everything in perfect harmony." So what if we actually did that? What if when we actually dressed each morning, we put on our clothes of love? What about if we slipped into our undergarments, we put on that first layer of love? And then we put our arms into our sleeves, and we picture ourselves wrapped in patience for the day and flexibility for the day. As we button up our shirts or our blouses, we enfold ourselves in compassion for the day, for whatever happens during that day. And as we tie our shoes, we ground ourselves for the day. You know, if each of us is grounded, we change the environment so much, because has everybody noticed how everybody is like a little discombobulated and a little bit upset, more upset than usual? Right. So if we're a grounding rod in whatever environment we're in, we're actually really helping things. So let's try this for a moment. Let's place one hand over our heart. And right as we do it, we immediately can feel the warmth beneath our palm. And silently say to yourself, "I am here." And then imagine soft golden light radiating from your chest, because that's who we are. And this is not passive, this is powerful. This is the radiant heart that we actually project into the world. Oh, I love this picture of you guys. Everybody's like very sweet. They're just holding their hearts. Yeah, good, thank you. So being clothed in love also means listening to the wisdom of our heart and acting from it, because our hearts know before our brains interfere. Our hearts whisper. Our brains argue. When we follow our heart, we open to divine intelligence and unlimited possibility. Our heart is a compass. The brain is a GPS recalculating every 5 seconds. Anybody can relate to that? Yeah. And when we overthink, you know, we just shrink. Which one feels more peaceful, to listen to our heart or our brain? Our hearts. So love is a quintessential power. And I have these friends, they used to live in the high desert. They're now in their mid-90s, and they live with their kids up in Utah. But I've had a lot of fun with them, and they do all kinds of crazy things. We had a lot of spiritual books and went hiking and all that. But one of the things they did was, you know those glass jugs of apple juice you used to find in glass jugs? They would take those empty jugs and they'd put water in it, and then they would tape on the bottom of them peace, love, kindness, patience, and then they would put them out in the sunlight. They'd let the sun juice them, and then they'd come in and drink the water. So one day there was absolutely a torrential flood up in the high desert. It doesn't take much, just some water. And all of the jugs were just a mess, and all of the labels on the bottom were all off and ripped up and all that, except one, the one with love on it. And that was absolutely incredible. It was like a universal message that is saying, do you guys get this? Do you guys get how powerful love is? Yeah. So Mona Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, she said, your heart is the altar of love. And so I invite us to contemplate anyway how we can slow down a bit. Because when we slow down, we actually strengthen our field of love. We put less on our calendars. We allow more space into our lives. Does anybody have a really busy day? Sometimes when you look at your calendar and then you get a cancellation and you think, oh, what am I going to do with this half hour or this hour, right? It's like such a gift, right? So that means when we slow down, instead of jam-packing our schedule, we're able to look around for opportunities to be love. Because each of us, when we're out there, wherever we are, in our homes or wherever out there, we're the unity message, right? We're the unity message for oneness, for harmony, for love, for inclusivity. And when we remember we're made out of divine substance and we're clothed in love, we move differently. We speak differently. We act differently. We smile at strangers for no reason. We hold eye contact a moment longer. We ask a genuine question of a stranger. Consider those people, a lot of them are young people, that have jobs in public service, either cashiers or customer service reps or whatever. Whether you're on the phone or in front of them, how's your day gone? And they just like, somebody cares. You're not just a robot interacting with them. Somebody actually cares. And that may be the only moment where somebody cares that day. A lot of times you call and you get somebody from some other country, you say, where are you today? What's the weather like? And they're like, thank you for asking, because it means they get one less call, they take a little longer time on this one, and it's enjoyable for everybody. So our human connections have dramatically declined in recent years. Research shows that we used to connect 6 hours a week with our friends and family, and now it's down to 2.1 hours a week. So people long to be seen and heard, and each one of your presence is a gift, whoever you're in front of, so always a true gift. And act on guidance. Love is very practical, and we're in practical Christianity. Sometimes it nudges us into small acts, but we have to slow down and we have to be aware. Sometimes somebody's face will move through your mind, and you think, oh, I should call that person. Call that person right there, Call them right there, stop, because there's a reason. And maybe you notice somebody struggling out there with something, you assist them. I was in the grocery store a couple weeks ago, and I noticed this woman coming in, and that's another thing. Notice what you notice, right? There's a reason your spirit is telling you to notice. So I noticed this woman, her hair's in a bun, she's in her early 80s, and it's all sticking out, and I immediately liked her because her hair is a wreck, you know what I mean? And I did my shopping, and I heard her. I thought it was her on the next aisle. And she said, I can't believe it. She said, this is the second week in a row that they're out of my peanut butter protein bars. I just don't know what I'm going to do. So I went over there to commiserate with her, And, if you get down on your hands and knees, they're in the bottom shelf, and you reach way back there and grab a couple packs, and, you can just make somebody's day with just these little things that you do. Yeah. So one of the things we have to ask as we're spiritually evolving on this planet is honest reflection. So when am I not loving? I had moments this week. I had a cold that you can still hear, and I was like so grumpy. I was just grumpy. So the usual culprits are expectations and judgment. When we expect others to, and you can fill in the blank, pick their socks off the floor, keep the dog from barking, think the way we think, wipe the counter, keep all their dirty dishes out of the sink, right? And most of the time, people are supposed to telepathically know that we want these things, right? Yeah. So, and then when they fail, we withdraw our love. So I'm going to ask everybody, so as I mentioned those examples, you probably, one may have come into your mind. So think about something right now that's one of your pet peeves that you've asked somebody to do or you haven't, but you're just mad every time that they don't do that. Everybody got something? Yeah. So notice how you feel when you think about that. There's like a wall that comes up between you and that person, whether it's a neighbor or somebody in a housemate or your spouse or one of your kids. And then as the wall comes up, you kind of like tighten. You constrict a little bit because your expectations are not met. And then you hear the inner critic. Why can't they do that? I've asked them to do that how many times, et cetera, right? So now we can release that. Just all release that. I don't want you to take that away. So Unity author Reverend Robert Brummett, he says, when we're triggered, just sit with it. Just notice it. And he said, just let it move through you without responding. Because, emotion is energy in motion, right? So we let it move through us. And if we pause, it'll complete the cycle. If we react immediately, it recycles because we fed it. And if we spread it by thinking about it, guess what happens? We get more of it, right? Yeah, because we know we create by using our voice and getting those atoms and the molecules starting to move in formation. So what is the cost of withholding love? Every time we hate, fear, compete, judge. Is it easy to judge? How easy is it to judge? Right. Or separate. We constrict the flow of love. And we've all been tested, I know. So love is that evolutionary force moving through humanity, and it is moving through humanity, and it is creating greater harmony. There's all kinds of groups everywhere. And even if we consciously practice consciously loving 10 minutes a day, we're joining other people that are doing the same, and we are actually creating a difference in the world. Because as our frequency rises, everything rises, right? And it's scientifically proven in biology. If we go in to a meeting with a high frequency, everybody around us is like, well, that feels better than the frequency I'm in. I'll raise my frequency, right? That's how it happens, yeah. So our charge is to deepen and express our love, spend time in the stillness. That's where our power is, right? Charles Fillmore spent long hours in the silence. And when his granddaughter, Rosemary Ray, when she had a friend over, the friend said, why is your grandfather always like sleeping? And she goes, well, that's what grandfathers do, don't they? She didn't know anything different. He was always in meditation. He was always sleeping, yeah. So, and another great technique is to send love ahead. Send love ahead of something important. Send love ahead if you know something is difficult there. Send love ahead if you happen to have some in-laws that are outlaws. You send love ahead. And then, when you do that, when you consciously do that for a few days before the meeting, before you get together with them, you're going to be driving home or coming back going, I can't believe that was actually an enjoyable experience, because love is a harmonizing force. As Jesus reminds us very often, our way shower, become like a child. When circumstances shift, smile, adjust, laugh if possible. A rigid tree snaps in a storm, a flexible one bends. And practice curiosity. You know, I wonder why that guy just cut me off in traffic. Well, all right, maybe his wife's getting ready to have a baby. Who knows? Or maybe they're late to work. Who knows, you know? But when we use curiosity, we keep our heart open instead of judgment, closing it, and we turn curiosity into learning. So, and give everywhere you go. We're the unity message, so give everywhere you go. Hold doors, offer encouragement, leave kind reviews and surveys. Always express love. And I encourage everybody to go on Facebook. I will too. Because, you know, when people are thinking to coming to anything, they read the reviews. And so if they see a bunch of people who left good reviews about Unity of Tallahassee, they're like, well, okay, you know, I'll come, but I'll sit by the door really close. So if I need to make an escape, I can do it really quick, right? All right, yeah. So the benefits of living in love are we live in peace more often. We stop sweating the small irritations. We respond more than we react. And you know, in our country, I know we have a lot of work ahead, but you know, we all have roofs over our head, we have food in the refrigerator, and that's more than half of the population doesn't have. So we have a lot to be thankful for. So here's a story. It's the month of love, so I'm going to tell you this story in closing. There's a young pastor and his wife, and they're serving an aging church that had once flourished, but is really now worn and crumbling. And just days before their big Valentine's dinner day dance, a violent storm moves through, damages the sanctuary, and puts a gaping hole right behind the sanctuary, right in the front. So they're young, they're enthusiastic, they're very discouraged but determined. So the wife says, well, we have to go to this auction this afternoon because it's a children's benefit for something. They come and they find this gold and lace, beautiful tablecloth, 15 feet long. It's exquisitely designed and crafted. And they buy it for a few dollars. So they return to church, and it just covers the hole just absolutely perfectly. They're like so thrilled. And they're standing there admiring it, and a refugee woman comes in waiting for a delayed bus because it's cold outside. And she looks up at the cloth and she whispers, "It is mine." And she explained that years earlier in Vienna, her husband had commissioned that cloth for her. And they were forced apart during wartime. She believed him dead. The couple were stunned as she showed them her initials in the cloth. And of course, they promised to give it to her after the wall was fixed. So the Valentine's Day dinner dance it went off beautifully. It was a great success. And in candlelight, the beautiful gold in the cloth shimmered in warmth. And they were closing the church. An elderly gentleman appeared frozen in time as he stared at the cloth. So he remarked that his wife had owned one like this in Vienna. Excited, the pastor and his wife drove the man to the woman's door. On Valentine's Day, decades after being separated by war, husband and wife were reunited. And love does this. Love reconnects what seems forever divided. It moves quietly, it's without force, and it arranges what we cannot orchestrate ourselves. So this is a transformational time. We have to, each one of us, love louder. And we know during this time of the season of nonviolence, that we particularly honor Martin Luther King, great peacemaker, and Mahatma Gandhi, and they all taught that peace through strength and nonviolence was the way to go. So let's put our hands in our hearts once more and feel its rhythm. Imagine every person on earth doing the same thing at this time. One body, one earth, And I'm going to invite you to repeat these statements after me if you're willing. I am clothed in love. I am clothed in love. I move in love. I move in love. I respond in love. I respond in love. I broadcast love. I broadcast love. Clothe yourself each morning and watch how it multiplies to you. Namaste.
Light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is and